Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is the Am I Ready to Start a Business um, workshop. A little bit about me. My name is Lee Spieker. Been with Nashville Score for 5 years. My background is new starts. I've started 8, 9 different companies. I think it changes every time I do this, and this has been doing this for what 4 years. This is my 50th, almost 50th time. But it's around there. Started mostly in the fitness industry. So I made boxing equipment for professional and amateur fighters for a while. Had partner in a couple of health clubs. Started a chain of exercise equipment stores. Had 7 of them when I left. Created the first aerobic floor system for high impact aerobics. The stackable step, the original slide board, the first commercial stepper. Then I got involved in 1999, started a website selling physical therapy products. From there, created a patent on a handle that's still used today in rotating programs and shoulder and wrist and therapy. So I've got some patents and trademarks and import and export, and I've done some wholesale and retail, direct to consumer. And I started a video company, produced over 100 exercise videos, and then some commercial videos with education. So I've got a little background, so that's why I feel I've got a pretty good handle on what it takes to start a business and to grow a business. It's more important is anybody can start one of these things. The real challenge is to keep them going and to grow them profitably. So what we'll do is let me get to what we have. We got a PowerPoint that was developed by the Nashville Score group here in Nashville. And we'll run through this and we'll get started here. No, this is always one of my challenges is just get the thing to show up and do it right. Is that? Game. Do. Okay, so I'm ready to start a business. If you would, just mute your microphones except when speaking, and because we got a smaller crowd, if we hit on a subject that you have a interest in discussing, feel free to just unmute and ask a question. That'll be fine. If you want to write your questions down, I'll stick around at the end of this as long as and I'll answer all the questions, stick around as long as we have something to discuss. So appreciate that. And so we'll get to this a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. So over 10,000 volunteers and 300 chapters around the United States. SCORE is a resource partner of the SBA. We're not really affiliated with them. We don't do loans or any of that kind of things that is basically what SBA does. But we have helped over 10 million entrepreneurs through mentoring workshops, educational resources through 1964. Our chapter here in Nashville has over 60 volunteers that provide mentoring, counseling, workshops, special events. There's a SCORE business television show on Circle TV where it's a half-hour show. We've got a host that features a previous SCORE client and talks about what they learned and their success. SCORE website is score.org/Nashville. I'll mention this a couple times during this evening. Is this score.org/Nashville is as rich a resource of professional educational content as you'll find anywhere. It's one of the things about all the videos and the templates and the programs and the support that you get there has all been curated. None of it is spun trying to point you in some direction or another. It's all just really good content, real good excellent resource. Strongly recommend, should you choose to proceed with starting a business, take advantage of it. That's one thing about starting a business. Running a business is a skill. And just like you could go to college and get a PhD, master's and a PhD in business administration, it's an educational process. So I strongly encourage, and the people I know who have really been successful in business, consider it that. And it's an ongoing, it's a lifetime learning proposition. As long as you're in business, you could always do something better. I've never considered anything I've ever done, any enterprise I've ever created, where I had it down pat. Everything was always improvable and always looking for a way to make it better. So, and the SCORE website, you'd request a counselor or a mentor, you find and sign up for workshops. Now that you're on our email list, you'll start getting notices of the workshops that we do put on. Some of them are local, and you also get emails on websites or workshops that are done on a national basis. And the resource materials, like I said, and then there's also guides. There's a template for a business plan, templates for financial projection. There's guides on how to produce and create all those things. Those are all on that website. Just take advantage of it. It's all free. It's excellent material. A mentor by SCORE's definition is assigned for the life of the business. So I've been doing this for 5 years. I still have a couple of clients that I met 5 years ago that have got their businesses up on the ground and they're proceeding with it. They're profitable, and we connect once or twice a year just to discuss how it's going. Or occasionally they'll get in touch with me and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And we have a chance to just discuss what's going on and issues that may or may not have an effect on their business. We have access to co-mentors and subject matter experts. Subject matter experts are very definitive experts that we can call on to help, like lawyers. We don't have any lawyers in our chapter, but we do have. If we have a legal question, there are a couple of lawyers as subject matter experts that we can bring into the conversation. We can co-mentor, so we can look to anybody or anywhere in the United States, find people with very specific content and experience, and ask them to co-mentor. So we've got an awful lot to offer anybody who's starting a business and help and assist them in establishing their business in such a way that it can grow it. And there's never a charge. So our workshops, we have scheduled ones. The next one you choose to start a business, may be how to start a business. Build a business model, plan, and strategy. We'll actually get into this a little bit deeper into the presentation, but I'll mention this a couple of times because this is the business modeling workshop. If you choose to start a business, strongly encourage you either take this workshop or get the video and watch it, because it really identifies all the elements of engage that you need to have a really deep understanding to really be successful in starting your own business and running your business. How to write a business plan, market research, small business big impact, the power of AI, accounting software, overview demo, understanding taxes, and then we have lunch and learns and one-time workshops on cybersecurity, resources, veteran entrepreneurs, leasing, legal, email, entrepreneur growth, franchising, industry-specific sources, all kinds of stuff that comes out. In fact, like last night, we had what we call SCORE Live. One of our attendees tonight, Wendy Townsend, was at that event last night, where it's about a dozen of us mentors all gather, and then I think we had about 25 or 30 entrepreneurs, and we just sit around for a couple hours and talk. It's kind of an entrepreneur meetup. So tonight we'll talk about motivation, self-inventory, what are typically entrepreneurial traits, business planning elements, resource evaluation, consideration, summary, next steps. My hope is taking my experience and through this, they give you an overview of what it's like to actually run a business, what you'll be called upon to do, the knowledge base and the considerations and the efforts that you need to put out there in order to be successful in this. We'll say this at this point, the fact that you're actually on this workshop, should you start a business, would indicate to me that your chance of success has greatly accelerated. It's one of the things that I've run into a lot of people over the past 45 years in business, that people just think, it can't be that hard. I know somebody who runs a business and they're not very smart. No, running a business is a skill, and it's something that you could improve on, and constant approval, constant education, constant consideration, because things in business change. Little things like pandemics that can really put a kink in what you're doing. There's a lot of people I'm working with now are dealing with import issues on tariffs. Planning ahead for these kind of eventualities or possibilities is really where the skill sets, the skillful entrepreneurs are the ones who set themselves apart. And when things happen, are the ones to be able to pivot, change, adapt to continue growing. And those who are able, some will fall off to the side. In the fitness industry, almost 25% of the entire fitness industry went broke during the pandemic. The 75% that were there pivoted really quick onto the online programming, started doing additional revenue things, tightened up their business plans. And when we came out the better side, they were just much stronger for it. So we'll get to a summary and then we'll get to next steps. Now we do have a smaller group today, so I'd like to do this if briefly in just a couple minutes. Armel, unmute, and I should introduce Cal is working with us. He's also one of our subject matter experts and mentors, and he's just kind of assisting. He'll drop away here once we get everybody logged in for a while, but so we got an assistant. Armel, if you'd unmute and tell us your name and what your idea is, what you got planned. And she may have stepped away. Wendy.
Hello. So I have plans to, I'm still kind of in the discovery phase of plans, but I have plans to work in with families and youth who live in rural communities around financial literacy.
And that's there's definitely a need for that. In fact, I have another client who taught high school here in Tennessee for 30 years. She quit and she started a business to do that too. Because
we need to connect.
Yes, we can. I'll find out, dig her up, because kids today really don't have a lot of skill and it's not taught any longer. So it's a real skill that they need to have. Stacia.
Hi, my name is Stacia Davis, and I am starting a skin and cosmetics business. And my motivation is it's just really, it kind of started as a passion, but it started small and then it's just kind of snowballed to continuing education and learning more about actually starting and developing a brand.
Excellent. Yeah, and we chatted yesterday about this, and she's got a really good idea of what's going on and has been doing all the right things to get her business up and running. Thank you. Ruben?
Hello. Good evening. My name is Ruben Gonzalez. I just literally discovered SCORE last week, so I'm just here to learn. My business ideas are like very, very small. I still don't have like a concrete idea, but I do have like just a couple of ideas. But that's about it. I'm learning as I go, like what my target audience is. Again, my motivations and market audience. Again, I'm still like figuring out which one it is that I'm going for. But again, I'm just a rookie. I literally started last week, just learning as I'm going along.
Very good. Well, this is the right way to go about it, is just reach out and look for help, because nobody I've ever known who started a business, if they said they started it on their own and did it on their own, I'm pretty confident they're lying to you, because it's not true. Everybody I know in business at some point in time ran into somebody who introduced them to something, suggested something, offered them something, connected them with somebody that actually made what they're doing possible. So really, getting involved with the learning process is really important. Uchenna. About Stephen.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. My name is Stephen Bradley. I'm originally from Knoxville. Um, I have a business that started 26 years ago, and we got embroiled with another company who was targeted for, with a really nasty legal situation. We got pulled up in them being part of the technology provider, and it absolutely destroyed our company. We went from 120 something clients, technology clients, down to 3, and basically starting a business all over again from scratch. And I learned a lot in 26 years, but I know that SCORE was a really, really awesome resource for us when we got started, and I'm going to do it all over again. I'm just going to take what I learned and get with SCORE and polish it up and do it even better this time. So kind of like a phoenix out of the ashes sort of situation for us. But I'm really excited about having access to mentors in Nashville. It's a little bit different talent pool maybe than Knoxville even, although those guys were great. Looking forward to meeting you guys.
Excellent, and sorry to hear that. And I can empathize. One of my companies got tied up in with a issue with my original step aerobic step. Got into a big legal battle, and yeah, there's nothing more discouraging when you start ending up in those kind of situations. Harry. How about Tyler?
Hello, everybody.
There you go.
This is Tyler. I have a boutique that I started in 2018 by the name of Beautiful Boutique. My business idea, I did kind of operated, locally with doing sales by meeting clients to drop off their order. I am looking to have like a brick and mortar type of setup pretty soon if I'm able to get funding for it. My market is primarily to women of all ages, really. Um, as far as like all ages, adult wise. My motivation to start my business was just that I know that I'm a person who kind of likes to be in control of myself and be able to delegate things for myself. And when important things come up, I need to be able to attend if I'm, financially able to, versus working for someone. It can kind of cause an interference if I don't have enough time to request off and stuff like that. So I feel that entrepreneurship is the best option, and it's something I can pass on to the future generation.
Sure.
What I'm planning to learn today is just really anything that I don't already know, which I'm sure there's something.
Well, I'm hoping we could do that also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dom may not be. Yeah, that was good. I appreciate that. We'll get right into the meat of this thing. So a couple common motivations about that people start a business. Why do people start one? And there are a few thoughts about each of these. So one that we've seen often, very common, is I need a job. I need benefits. I need long-term financial security. Starting your own business, the fastest way to get a steady paycheck is not, as a rule, is not starting your own company. It generally takes time. There are exceptions to that rule, and careful what you wish for, you just may get it. All of a sudden, you put something out there, it could blow up in today's space, and I've seen people blow up and their entire program get too big. They can't control it. It creates an opportunity for everybody to jump into the thing. So slow and steady tends to be the most effective way to do that, and try to manage your growth. Health considerations, need for benefits. So one thing about owning your own business is you're going to have to supply health insurance and all that, benefits, vacations, time off, sick days. Those are all on you. So those don't come with the job. Those are all something that you're going to supply for yourself. Unfortunately, I've run into too many people. I don't like to work, therefore I'm going to start a company. And those of you who have jobs right now, like Stephen, that's not what this is all about. If you don't like to work, starting your own company is kind of it's what, one step forward and 10 steps back. You need to work. I've started all these companies I've started. I work more than anybody else in that I've ever employed. You know, one time I had 200 employees. I was the first one there and the last one to leave every day. So if you don't like to work, starting your own company may not be the right option. The opportunity to buy a job or create a job. So you've got the ability to go out and buy an existing business, create a job by starting your own company, or versus you go get a job. You know, so there's options there. Understanding the pluses and minuses and all those is really important. People who have an idea or see an opportunity, this is basically where most of these businesses come from. I've always wanted to, be in, and I come out of the fitness world. I've always wanted to be in the fitness industry. I've always wanted to sell exercise equipment. I always wanted to be a personal trainer. I always wanted to be a dance instructor. And those are great motivation. I've always wanted to sell baked goods. I've always wanted to be a barber. I've always wanted to do things. Very few times I've ever run anybody. I've always wanted to be in trash management. That's not something I often hear, but and because of that, it could be a very good opportunity to get into trash management. Hobbies and avocations that you can turn into business. This is one of the most common ones. People who have that bake cookies and take them to farmers markets, and they get really good response and want to turn that into a business. Trader skill, learn from prior experience. I'm working with a gentleman who was a Finnish carpenter, and we helped him get his own cabinet making business up and running. So he had learned from a prior experience, and now wanted to go out there, start his own company. It's something that I think we were just talking earlier, that and the ability to actually build asset value instead of building an asset for someone else, build the asset for you that could be passed on to from a generational wealth, passed down to the next generations, or build an asset that you could sell to somebody that would have substantial value in the future. One of the things you need to do is, if that idea can be properly tested, and that's called a proof of concept. We will get deeper into that here in a little bit too. Personal satisfaction of being success in your own business it can be very high, exceptionally high. But the reverse of that is true. If personal satisfaction can be extraordinarily low, if you get into this and it doesn't work, and not every business works. So one of the things that going through in this kind of a workshop and digging into the details, building business plans, doing financial projections, elevates the opportunity and the possibility of success. So going through all the steps necessary to prove of concept, and determining whether or not what it is that you want to sell or what you have to offer in a service is actually something that somebody wants, is really important, because they say satisfaction be high, but if this thing doesn't work, and some don't, for whatever reason, the personal satisfaction can be very low. In fact, it can be really disappointing. I think Stephen ran into kind of an issue. Unbeknownst to you, you have no control over it, and all of a sudden, things just go south on you. I've had that experience with Warner Brothers. So it can be really disappointing. Passion relates to sales. Your entrepreneurs tend to have a real passionate connection to what it is they're doing. They really believe that what they have has value to the people that they're going to talk to. Customers can tell that passion does translate into sales and service. And then you actually have to determine whether or not you're capable, or can you follow through on details? Because it's really important in businesses to dot the I's and cross the T's. You just can't leave things on the table and we'll get to it next week. You really need to follow through on details. Another reason people start businesses is the family business background in that particular field. You worked in the family's furniture store your whole life. You want to go start your own furniture store. Auto dealerships. There's all kinds of things that people grow up in, and then they want to either take over the family business or start a business similar to that. Desire to involve family members or friends. People want to start a business to bring their friends together and run a business together. That can be really tricky. It can be done, but if that's the case and that's the intent that you have, really get involved with a mentor or somebody, because you could create buy-sell agreements and contractual relationships that can minimize the downside of having family members and friends as partners, because it's a delicate dance. It's even harder than, I think, just romantic relationships, because business relationships are basically purely on money. And people can, rationalize and justify just about anything when it comes to money. If you plan to pass your business off to the next generation, or whatever you have plans for your business, having a succession plan and understanding that up front, you can build a business that can be transitioned really quite easily. But if you don't do that and you start a business in 5 years, you want to pass it off to a daughter or a son or a cousin or an uncle, or sell it to somebody, not having all the details and all the history of how you started this, how you structured it, what happened, where your customer base are, where your supply lines are, what worked, what didn't work, minimizes the value that you have. So if understanding what your succession plan is, what you plan to do in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, identify what you have intent. You're not locked into doing that, but if that's what you have in your vision board, start planning for that from day one. And then make sure your business model will provide long-term economic security for others. Because if you have 3 people, and you're just going to make sure that it'll provide all 3 of those people what they expect or what they need to live off of. And that's where you really get your business model and your financial projections to understand your profit margins, cost of goods sold, how much business you need to generate in order to pull enough money down to support the number of people you have in your plan. This is always a big one. People want to start business, be their own boss, control their own destiny. Yeah, that sounds good at first, but you need to be realistic, because being your own boss means that if anything goes wrong, look in the mirror, it's his or her fault. Period. That's just where it is. The buck always stops with you. So you've got to be prepared to take on that responsibility and acknowledge the fact that even if, things, except for unexpected, you can't blame the pandemic on yourself. But if you hadn't planned, have contingency plans for something like a pandemic or something that, oh my God, what happens if we get caught up in a lawsuit? Ideally, you've got some idea of how you could transition or uh, recover in some way or another. So that's all up to you. The owner does whatever needs to be done uh, at all times, and be prepared for that. I've invested in companies. In one particular, I have the owner did nothing but assigned responsibilities, and I've learned, don't invest in companies where the owner wants to print a business card and call themselves a president, and all they do is just okay, assign everything. They don't do anything. Their job is to make sure everybody else does the work. Never worked. That particular one went broke too. So if you're the owner, you be prepared to do whatever needs to get done, which requires discipline and commitment. You're never too far away from work issues. Last year, I was in the UAE and then on the Maldives for 3 weeks. Every morning, got up, got on the computer, and I'm a one-person show with my obstacle course, my youth fitness programs, what I sell right now, and handled customer issues, processed purchase orders, uh, directed how to deposit checks. I was running the business from the Middle East. And that's one of the things that's good or bad because of the nature of business today and the fact that you're always connected to it. You're never too far away from your work issues. Owner compensation really does depend on cash flow. There are some businesses that are very seasonal. There's a lot of companies that make all their money in fourth quarter and then just break even the other 3 quarters. So business could get really tight during the non-profitable months, and then it could get really, the cash flow can really increase during the high season. This is something in vacation rentals and seasonal businesses. So owner compensation depends on your cash flow, and not everybody. You may not be anyone around to exchange ideas with. And this is something I highly recommend. Even if you get a SCORE mentor, look out and perhaps you could find somebody in Philadelphia who does the same thing you do, and you wouldn't be competing with them, and call and say, hey, I'm getting into this company here. Can I ask you some questions? I have found over the years that more often than not, people are very open to doing this. And then you could create maybe your own little meetup group of 4 or 5 people who do what you do, and you can all share ideas, and you've got somebody else to just talk to. It really helpful. And it goes down to who really is your boss if you start a company. Well, number one, and I'm a firm believer in this, is your customers. I'm a firm believer in this, period. Customers always right, even when they're wrong. You treat your customers like liquid gold. I mean, they are the reason you're in business. That's it, period. Customers are the reason you're there. And in today's world, in an influencer-based society that we've evolved to, you irritate or a customer perceives they've been wronged, they could have 1 million followers. Or that customer perceives that you had done something exceptional for them, that your service is over and above what they expected, they could have 1 million followers. Reviews and testimonials can make and break businesses these days. So treating customers with that in mind is really, really important. I've used to do that. I had in the story, I had sold treadmills in one of my exercise stores, and a lady came in, a very old lady. She came in and says, I need to give my treadmill back. We bought it 2 years ago. I bought it for my husband, but he's had a stroke and he can't use it anymore. And my employee goes, well, it's 2 years ago. We can't take that back. Walked out, says, what was the issue here? She explained it to me. I says, tell you what, if you got the receipt, we'll give you exactly what you paid for it, and we'll come out and pick it up tomorrow. She purposely walked in at least 10 customers over the next year that all bought treadmills. Everybody she ran into, everywhere she went, said, you know, where can I go? She would get him in the car, drag him over, introduce him to us, and we returned and we sold it used at what we paid for it. So we had nothing out. So had a customer who loved us and told everybody in the world and actually walked people in, says, you buy from these people. It can work. It does. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. If you have employees, it's your employees that actually deal with your customers. So you better treat them well. Because I've had this too, that the employees, and I'm sure everyone here has walked into a business in some form or fashion, and the employee really pissed you off. And you, that was how you felt about the company. And did you ever go back? Maybe not. And so you've got to treat employees well because they are the ones who represent you to your most invaluable asset, which is your customers. Also believe in this, if you pull money from somebody, if somebody gives you their money to help you get your business up and running, that you treat them better than you treat yourself. You know, they get paid before you get paid, if at all possible. By treating that kind of mentality, should you ever need to go back to the trough for a second round of funding, investors at the first round will be really open to giving you money because you've treated them well. Word gets around that if you need to sell that company and start up another one, call on these investors and they'll give you a deal, and the next angel will come in and invest your thing based on the experience with previous investors. Treating investors and partners, you know, really well is just really good sound business strategy. So the objective of getting your own business is getting yourself a return on the investment, or an investment a return on the investment that you would get as opposed to putting your money in an IRA or just a traditional investment vehicle. So what we're trying to do is because there's risk involved in starting a business, you would want to and expect a higher return on your investment and business valuation than you would in other investments. Now, there's understanding that it takes time to get the return on that original investment. And this can all be fleshed out when you create your financial projections. You can actually, on a month-to-month, year-to-year basis, see when the original money, if you put $50,000 into the original project, when does that original 50 grand get returned to you? That's when you actually start generating revenue, because the original investment or your startup capital gets returned. So you want to think like an investor. There's risk versus reward. Like I said, these things don't always work out, whether it's just the idea wasn't fleshed out well enough, competition got a little deal, legal issues. So you just want to think like an investor and putting your time and your money, your time is money, into something that has a greater return on your investment than traditional just regular investments. And what if your investment is not recovered? Just get into business, understand that that's always a possibility, you know. And if that could happen, objectively, the ideal thing to do is to have a backup plan. You know, if everything gets up and running and for whatever reason just doesn't work, make sure you got something in the back of your head that if this don't work, I can go back into my original job, or I can do something which gives you confidence or the ability to make decisions. And then you get into what long and short-term strategies do you need to get increase that return on investment. Typically, the entrepreneurial spirit is a desire to see your ideas converted into reality, a desire to try something new or creative. I've heard that here. Typically, entrepreneurs have a high tolerance for risk. I don't buy that next thing. Security is always a concern, but a high tolerance for risk allows you to make decisions without having a lot of data. So, and this is called the gut reactions. You have a strong feeling for something, and and people who are afraid of risk won't make those decisions. So typically entrepreneurs have a high tolerance for risk. They have a strong belief in their own skills and capabilities. They are idea generators, and maybe they're not good operators. And this is a real thing. There are people that I've known, very successful entrepreneurs, that if you ask them to fill out a inventory sheet, they have no idea what you're talking about. I guess the description is they're the ones who fly above the trees and never touch ground. If that's you, you may need a partner who is a good operator. And that's a perfectly legitimate plan. Developing an exit strategy, like we were saying earlier. So if you know where you're going, you've got a target and an objective, and you can start making plans to get there. You could get to that exit strategy and change your mind and say, well, it's not time to exit. Let's just extend this out for another couple of years. But by having it down now, you've got a target to work towards. And this go back to always have a plan B. I've always had a plan B that if everything went to heck on me, I could be the best used car salesman ever. I've never had to do it. No diminishing used car salesman as a profession. But it allows you, knowing that you've got something else to do, it allows you to make decisions that would scare the hell out of other people. Because gosh, I'm going to do this. If it doesn't work, I know where I could go next. But you have an opportunity, a plan B. So this is a question just to think, and these are questions that you're not going to be tested on this. Nobody's going to ask you anything other. So this is just internal. So you need to be really honest with yourself, because making the move to start a business is not a small. It's a big jump in most people's lives. Do you feel your motivation is strong enough to proceed with the hard work involved in launching a new business? This entrepreneurial self-evaluation, where you fall in these categories, we'll run through some of this thing now. You will also get within the next couple of days, you will get a copy of this entire PowerPoint. And in the back of it, there are this particular slide you could print off in black and white and actually fill it out. And then there's more material that'll come with this too, and we'll get to that at the end of this thing. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But you will get a copy of this entire PowerPoint. So a low score would be a 1, and that can be a concern. But if you went through this whole thing and then said 5, I'm perfect in all aspects, could be worrisome, because you may be overestimating your own skill levels, and you may be lying to yourself. So really drawn in and being really honest. This is a great time to be brutally honest with yourself. What's your work ethic like? If it's a really strong work ethic, maybe you put a 5 down here, or maybe you put a 4. You have experience in the field, and if you have none, you put 1, 2. Go get the experience. It's out there. I had a client he refurbished antique travel trailers. And he had this idea. He wanted to take his travel trailers and set them up on a plot of land and turn it into a resort. We had no experience in running a resort or a recreation hospitality industry. He got and went in an apprentice at a campground who said, hey, let me work here for 3 months. I'll do it for free if you'll teach me how to do this. And he did. And they taught him all about how to run a resort. And he's in the process looking for land now to put his operation up. So if you don't have the experience, there's ways to go get it, or to learn it, or the education, or maybe just through schooling. If your organization skills need help, this is a place. It's one thing that we can do as humans. We can make conscious decisions just to get better. And if you put the organizational skills historically aren't that good, This is a good time to improve on them. Time management skills, decision making. You're making decisions with all the facts most of the time, because you just don't have time to go out there and dig through all, excuse me, all the data. This is a great time to identify, do you have those kind of things? Are you capable of learning from your mistakes? I think we've all run into these people. As soon as something goes wrong, they have to point at his fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. She did. I didn't know that. Good people, really successful business people, when a mistake happens, they go, damn, I made a mistake. Own it, acknowledge it, learn from it, pivot, fix it. Don't find, don't point your fingers and, just learn from them. Acknowledge the fact that it happened, correct it so it doesn't happen again, and move forward, which is persistence. You got to be persistent. You got to stick with this stuff. They do take time. Most of the time, they do take time to develop, to understand really where your skill sets are, where your customer base is. What is it, the message that you need to provide to your customer that really resonates with them. You need a support system. This is a really good time to make sure if you have a family, you have people that are counting on you, that they're 100% behind you, because if during the low periods, things could get a little tight. And just to make sure everybody's acknowledged the fact that we're all in it together. Things get a little tight, they understand that. It's easier to get through those kind of periods if everybody's got your back. Risk tolerance. Well, risk is not, it's an uncertainty, it's not good or bad, and it's everything. Risk is everywhere. And generally, the greater the risk, the greater the necessary reward. A good example of that is phone apps. Worked with a music person here, wanted to create a phone app. It was almost $300,000 to get the app created. Now he never got the money to do it, but had it worked and Apple put it on their thing, and it became and went everywhere. You can make a huge amount of money, but only about 3% of the apps that get produced ever make it onto are ever successful. So huge risk, but a huge possible reward. So how do you minimize your risk? Really analyze what your risk is. And each risk has 3 different components. That's the magnitude and how much can you lose. The probability and how likely is it to happen. As I said earlier, the fact that you're on a workshop like this, you've acknowledged the fact that you don't know everything, improves your possibility, your potential of success. But identifying what is that probability and managing that, and your exposure. Can you insure against loss? Now, that's not insurance against loss, but that's identifying where your exposure lies and acknowledging that there's exposure there, and then doing whatever you can to make sure that whatever that exposure to competition, exposure to pandemics, exposure to governmental policies, you've identified them, acknowledged them, and done what you can in order to ensure that they don't really massively impact what it is that you're doing. So a couple of questions just for you to consider on your own is, one is, you don't have to score high in every category. It's one of the things, if you guys said, okay, I am an idea person and I'm just no good and I have no intent, I'm just no good at doing details, then build a business with somebody who does do details, because it's important. Which means you build a team with complementary skills and manage them to get the desired result. How can I improve on the areas that I need to work on? Well, that's, again, we as humans have that capability, is just to make a concerted effort, a conscious effort to get better at things. Dig into the content, go learn, ask questions, and you can get better. So we get into just planning basics, and this is probably the key to any business's success, is identifying what customer pains can your value proposition, which is Your value proposition is what your product or service provides that will relieve or improve your customers' jobs or lives. So the ability to identify what it is that your customer's challenged with, because that's what people buy. They buy solutions. They buy solutions to a current issue they have. They buy things that'll make their lives better, whether it be fashion or cooking utensils or food or lunch. They do things to make their lives better. What can you do to help to achieve that? And what is it about your product or service that will accomplish that? Knowing who your competition is vital. Who's out there doing what it is that I do, assuming there is anybody, and what can I do to be unique? Can I improve delivery times? Can I be unique by providing it at a better price? Can I deliver it faster? Can I deliver it with better instructional materials? Can I improve it and make it taste better? What is your unique advantage that sets you apart from everybody else? Really important to identify what that is and what it is that you're doing. Then how do you market that value proposition? And the resources and activities that are necessary to create, market, and distribute your value proposition, which gets us to this business model the canvas that I talked to earlier. So this kind of identifies just about everything you need to know. So there's 9 components that having a deep, deep understanding of each one of these things will really help you get a business plan prepared that makes sense, really help you in your success. I swear, God, if this thing existed 50 years ago when I started my first company, and me and Zuckerberg would be racing yachts back and forth between Hawaii and now. And then that's in my head. But I didn't know, I was winging it for the first 15, 20 years of my life. Till I learned that it's a skill. I had to start digging in and really understanding everything and talking to people, and got my own mentors. This is a perfect time to take advantage of this kind of education material. So what it gets to is the first 2 important things is your value proposition. That is what your product or service, how is it different from other people? And it could have 5 or 6 different value propositions. It could be different in 5 or 6 different ways. It could be provided in multiple languages. It could be targeted. It could have things that address the psychographics of a specific person or marketing or market group. So identifying those. And the next really important thing in there is your customer segments. I've always been really successful in drilling down and being very conscious and specific in who my product. I build portable obstacle courses now, and I sell them to physical education teachers. Period. That's who I did this 22 years ago. My business was growing, doubling in size every 3 months back when our government actually provided money for physical education. That stopped 20 years ago, which has created some challenges. But that's your customer segment. So you can identify who your customer segment, you can break them out by, demographics, geographics, sex, religious preferences, political preferences, ethnicities, age groups, amount of money they have, what kind of cars do they drive? Do they have dogs? Do they have cats? Do they have kids? You can break these segments down into very, very narrow niches, and then you could go and actually talk to people in a language that they understand, and they look at you and go, oh, these people know exactly who I am and what my pain is. I trust them. It comes to them. So you come to these people with authority and credibility because you know them, and you can draw a lot about you and what's your experiences, and use them to approach these people. Um, it's really important. Then you also get in. We'll get this thing breaks down a little bit because it's that important. The how of what you do, the what of what is it that you do, and who do you do it for, and how much is this whole thing this going to cost? So those are the questions you have. You get into the value proposition we were just talking. You can have multiple value propositions, why you're unique, what makes you different than other people, who you're doing it with, your customer segments, and your customer relationships. You get a customer, how are you going to develop a relationship with that customer? Are you going to give them a loyalty card? Buy two things and get one free. Sign up, send us your email, and you're going to get a free a newsletter. Are you going to send them coupons? How are you going to develop a relationship with that customer so they stay engaged with you for as long as possible? The channels, how are you going to get to those customers? You're going to do this through social media, websites. Are you going to get to them through influencer-based connections? Is it going to be that through meetups? You're going to do it through Facebook groups. There's all these different channels to get to those customers, and different channels may be needed to get to different customer segments. And you can have a dozen. When I say I do PE teachers, I also am really right now working in parkour and chase tag, which are two they've been around for a while, but kids are really getting involved with chase tag and parkour. So I started an entire category on my website that just talks to these people. The language that I use with physical education teachers is totally different than the language I use with parkour athletes, because they just don't talk the same. That different things have different meanings to them. Psychographically, they want different things. They're in different segments. So understanding them is really important. How do you do what you do? Who are your partners? Who's your financing? Who are your vendors? Who are your suppliers? Who are your mentors? Who are the things that are going to help you get to where you want to go? What are the key activities you do? What are your marketing initiatives? Are you going to do farmers markets? Are you going to do trade shows? So what are all these key activities you're going to do? You're going to create a blog, you're going to do YouTube channels. Write these things down, identify them so you can work on them. Key resource, what do you need? You're going to need software, accountants, all the necessary things in order to achieve what it is that you intend to do. Understanding your cost structure. It's amazing how many people I've worked with who really don't have a grasp of what it is that they do and how it costs. Even services have a big cost, because there may be, I sell my service for $50. Well, every 10 people don't pay you. So that's a cost that has to be factored into what you cost, into your operational costs. If you have bad debt, if you have products in a retail store, you got a brick and mortar, what is your loss just from theft? Factor those things into what your cost is. So understanding what your real cost, the cost of delivery, cost of returns, cost of customer satisfaction, cost of customer service, cost of replacements. Really understanding what these things are, so they don't pop up sometime in the future and, oh my God, I had no idea that was gonna happen. Knowing what these are will really help you coming out of the gate fully prepared with the right pricing structure. And revenue streams, you could have 5 or 6 different revenue streams. This is something that, and like I'll use a health club for example. Health club's got initiation fees. It's got monthly dues. They take a portion of personal training revenue. They may have a juice bar. These are all revenue streams. I'm working with a gentleman up in Clarksdale who's putting up a pickleball facility. He's got 7 different revenue streams from, selling pro shop, juice bar, alcohol, snacks, lessons, court time, babysitting. These are all revenue streams. We identify everything you can do in order to take what you have and create additional revenue out of it. So again, this is another thing that you will get in this in the PowerPoint in a black and white. So you print it off. You don't have to mess with the color thing. But said like your partners, vendors, advisors, key activities, what you must create, market, deliver. What do you have to have? Do you need brochures? You need literature. You need DVDs, instructional videos. What are the things you need to develop your value proposition? Your resources, what you own, control, your assets, your employees, your revenue, your partner, loans, banking opportunities, value proposition. Define your products and service from a customer perspective, because this is something that's a great place to put this in. You want to provide people what they want to buy, not what you want them to have. There's a difference there. So identify what they want to buy. I'm working with another person who's come up with she's got 150 grand into her software program and family management. What are the kids doing tomorrow? What they're doing? When she showed it to me, I'm going, you've got 50 things in there. What are the 2 things that people actually want? You may be just overwhelming everybody with stuff that they actually, they don't know they need right now, but you've got, identified pain. How do you schedule your kids if you've got kids, and what are their sports things, their music lessons, their school plays? That's the biggest thing. She goes, that's where she's really got it done. And where can you add and start building it in? You give people more than what they want, but you've got to give them what they want, not what you want them to have. Your customer relationships, channels, how do you deliver it? What do your customers know about you? How to develop your customer demographics, psychographics? Who is that ideal buyer? So this is really important to know. So the reasons for this is if you go through this whole thing, you can identify will your business actually work? Take everything you learn in that business model and put that into your business plan. It is really good content, and that's the basis for a business plan. It's visual and dynamic, which allows you to pivot. So there's one of the things about doing business plans. Entrepreneurs tend to have just 1,000 things running around in their head. And I'm like this. I've always been like this. What if I over here? It's like that dog and a squirrel, losing focus on what it is that you actually do, because there's an opportunity. I'm going to jump on that one too. You put your ideas down on a piece of paper and you go, that's an okay idea, but it's kind of out there. I'm going to move that to the bottom of the page. All of a sudden in my head, it's not there anymore. Or if it's just a really bad idea, just put a line through it and it just disappears. So memorializing your ideas and getting them down so you can look at them. They're visual, they're dynamic. You can refer to them. You can, every 3 months you go and look at them. You go, okay, well, that's not working. We can pivot. We can tweak it a little bit and maybe it'll work better. But you're creating a roadmap of where you've been, so you can go back and go, and the history of what you've done. And basically education is nothing but history. We go back and go, if I had done that differently with what I know now, I could have been more successful with it. It allows you to evaluate new offerings and make changes. And it also allows you to watch you're keeping track of what your competitors are up to. So once you have an idea and and you know what the customers need or want, and you have the necessary resources, you have the financial capital to invest. Capital is tight today. There's a lot of the markets are very unsure of what's going on right now. The financial markets are really unsure of what's going on. So there's not a lot of really free-flowing investment capital out there. The people who have the money, and 10% of the people in our country have most of the money. They're getting offered opportunities every day. So they're really picky about what it is that they're investing. Banks are really tight right now. SBA is really tight. They had 9 people, I think it was, in Tennessee. They're down. They got 7 were just fired. The new downsizing of our government. Now there's 2 people managing SBA for the entire state, and they're way behind. So you've got those issues, personal debts and credit rating. If that on a personal level isn't very good, kind of minimizes your opportunity to go out there and get traditional financing. You do have to take into effect the cost of living and family support. So whatever you get for financing, you still have to live. You still have to pay the mortgage. You still got to feed everybody, pay your expenses. That has to be factored into what kind of financial resources you need. Friends and family. This is, I'd say, just the majority of all small-time companies in America. This is where they get started. Outside capital sources from friends and family. If that's a choice and it works, it can work. My suggestion, because I've done it, is to treat it like a business transaction. When I borrowed money from my dad, long time ago, we drew up a legal contract, and I paid him interest on a quarterly basis, and we provided everything that I had at the time as collateral. If we never paid him back, I don't suspect he would have collected on took my car in exchange, but you never know. But treat it like a deal, so everybody get it notarized and sign it, because if things don't go bad, people go, okay, well, I understand. It was a risk when I took it and I loaned you the money. It was a risk, as opposed to creating into blowing up into a big to-do. Do you have assets to secure the debt? This is the traditional loans, one collateral, and they want 2 or 3 times what they're loaning. And that's the typical bank thing. Current employment income. Can you finance what you're doing with your current income, which is basically a bootstrapping it. Bootstrapping is starting your business after work and weekends, doing it at no cost or low cost to get your proof of concept, to make sure what it is that you're doing, people will buy it from you, and doing whatever necessary in order to get your thing in front of that potential customer, that ideal customer niche, and offering it to them, and seeing if they'll actually acquire the thing. So that's the proof of your concept. Do you need physical facilities? Someone said, okay, we're going to look at, Tyler's looking at taking a boutique and get a brick and mortar. If you need that, then you got a whole nother level of challenge in there, from leasing, build outs, stock people, this kind of stuff. Do you need people? Are the type of people that you need available to you? And that's got to be identified too. Do you have access through SCORE? You have access to mentors, but could you reach out around the country and your network? Can you get more people? Are there trade associations you can join? This is a big thing. Just about every profession has a trade association. Can you join those things? They tend to have lots of data, trends, what other people are doing, what the average profitability. The fitness industry has 3 national trade associations. If you own a health club, it's the Health and Fitness Association of America. They produce documents, who's doing what's done, what's trend, what's going on. Right now, the fitness industry is rebranding itself as the longevity industry. Not sure how this is going to work, but they're trying to take it outside of the exercise. Hey, the objective of fitness is for we to live longer better. So finding other mentors. Then we get into your vision statement. This is your planning process. The vision statement is the future. Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And I strongly suggest you think about that and put that down, not just next year. In 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, where do you want to be? So you have a target. Your mission statement is your present day focus. What do you do? How do you do it? And why do you do it? Really be able to answer that. If somebody says, you're starting a business, what's this business about? So you could say what it is you do, how you do it, and why you do it, and have very clear, understandable responses to all three of those things. Your statement of strategy, your overall method or plan to bring about those desired goals. So this goes into your business plan. What do you need to do now in terms of recruiting, financing, locating that ideal customer base? What are you going to do in terms of other overall objectives? Your tactical plans are the detailed steps to achieve the goals. That's identifying, okay, I need to, find a bank line. I got to find suppliers and vendors. I need to do labels. I need to, my service, create a brochure. I got to identify what my customer, what they want. What do they think I want, so I can identify my messages for them, my messaging. Where am I going to go to get that message to these people? Those are your detailed steps, in your feedback loop as a result of all those steps are reflected in financials, client feedback. Big fan of this one. Every customer I ever sold anything to, right now, I've sold, I call them personally and say, what do you think? Did I do okay? Is the product what you thought it was? Did it get it delivered okay? Did it look okay in the cartons? Was there any complaints or any finding out? What do you think about this? And then I keep in touch with them, because right now my primary marketing is encouraging my customers is to go to social media and tell me what their students are doing. And I used to spend $10,000 a month in marketing. Now I spend maybe 500, just encouraging my customers to tell everybody in the world what they're doing, and it's working. So feedback loop, maybe got clients, talk to them. Ask clients to provide testimonials. Ask your client to share their experience with you, because it's not, it's just not in everybody's head all the time is that's what they want to do. And people will do what you ask them to, more often than not. So other considerations, you're going to build a business, buy a business, franchise. Is it a home-based or outside business, sole ownership or a partnership? Won't get really deep into this chart, but it's there for you to look at. It kind of goes through, if you're going to build your own business, you'll have no reputation. If you buy an existing business, for better or worse, you're going to get the reputation that business has. If you franchise, you buy a franchise, if reputation is going to come from the franchise. Your customers, if you buy a business, you want to get a non-compete, because you don't want, you buy a business from somebody and then they open up right next door. All their customers are going to go to the people that they know. So you want to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen. That's another thing that a mentor can really help you get through that kind of thing if you're buying an existing business. Cash needed, how much your financial projections are, ongoing fees. So all these things are to be considered, and how the kind of enterprise you're looking to create. And in the back end of this thing, this gets into much more detail at the end of the documents that you're going to get. If home-based or outside, the nature of the business dictates that. I kind of say this all the time, is you cannot do diesel repair in cul-de-sacs. So there are zoning restrictions on some types of businesses, because whatever you intend to do, can you do it there? If you're going to need a facility, factor in your overhead, the build out, the infrastructure, your lease commitments. Property in Nashville and the Middle Tennessee is at a premium. People want 3 to 5 year lease commitments. Startups don't tend to be able to sign leases on a corporate basis. The landlords want personal guarantees. If you're doing that, make sure you have the ability to sublet. If for some reason a year and a half into your enterprise it didn't work, but you've got a 5-year lease instead of 3.5 years of having to make payments on that, could you lease it to somebody else with their approval so you're not on the hook for the whole thing, and make sure that that's built out? These are other things that mentors can help you, go through that leasing process. This is an idea. If you need an office, this is a great time because of the home-based office thing that came out of the pandemics. Is you can lots of people have extra office space, and you could sublet that space from them. I've done this in the past. I sublet 3 offices for a project that I had. Came with desks, credenzas, phone systems, and a really nice office building. I did a month-to-month deal at about half the rate. You can also do that if you need a warehouse for your equipment. People have 10,000 square feet. They only need 5. They'll lease you 5,000 of it. I've done that in the past, and it works out really well because you don't have to sign these long-term leases. And it's nice because in terms as your building's growing, you may outgrow the space that you have a 5-year lease in, and then you have to move to a bigger space. What do you do with the space that you just left? So there's pluses and minuses in how you actually go out and acquire warehouse and functional space. Then you get into how the financial or the corporate structure for your business. One of the things that you got is the most common legal structures included is the sole proprietorship, and that's just you doing business. You register with the state of Tennessee, XYZ doing business as the XYZ. You doing business as you, and that's good. You can do business like that. You will need to get the EIN number from the feds and let the federal government know that, no, actually the tax business IRS know that you're now in business, so that you could pay the taxes. And most banks will require you to have an EIN number in order to set up a business account. So that's a possibility. Most people just starting a business could start as a sole proprietorship, and at some point in time you need a limited liability corporation because there's some intrinsic potential liability, personal liability, or issues where somebody could get hurt doing what somebody do. Somebody could eat a cookie that maybe had something in it that wasn't supposed to be in it. You can protect your personal assets through the corporate veil of a limited liability corporation. But if you do those, you will have to file an LLC. Tax returns are just more expensive. They do give you the protection, providing you're not doing anything illegal, but there is an extra expense the minute you step up to LLC. S corps, if you plan to sell stock, actually stock certificates, or bring in sophisticated investment money, you will need the S corp so you could actually issue stock certificates. If you intend to really turn this thing on and end up on Wall Street one of these days, C corp is you need that in order to actually offer on a national basis, stock sell stock into the general world. So some of the key factors that we've been talking about is, do you have the proper motivation? Do you have a match between the value proposition and your customers' needs and wants? Access to the funding, including the cash, and you need to make it beyond break even. If going through your financial projections and understanding what you need, and you come out and say, I need 25 grand to get this thing up and running. If at all possible, get the 25, but see if you can fudge another 5 to 10 grand, because very few projects actually come in on or under budget. And it's really sad. I've done this before too. Get 90% ready to launch and take it off, but there's something missing that I didn't have the financing for. So everything had to be put on hold and go into the whole fundraising thing again. If you can get some buffer, so if you run out of your first round of investment, you've got access to a second round where you can go on and actually complete what it is you're trying to do. Experiencing instant education, if there's a lack there, this is the perfect time to go get it. Your support system, advisors and family, and they all understand what's up. What are the ups, the positives and the negatives, the challenges that we're working towards and why we're working towards them. That support system is vital. You have the time to do the business and the strong work ethic, the ability to make decisions, the absence of certainties. If you have all those things, you're ready, you may be ready to move forward. If yes, you can request and meet with a SCORE mentor. And you can do that on the SCORE/Nashville website. There's a button, find a mentor. Attend more workshops. Next one may be start a business. Business modeling, like I said, that's a great one. How to write a business plan, accounting basics, quantify and obtain the necessary capital you need, implement your plan and launch your business, and then monitor the business and pivot as necessary. Or, and this is a perfectly good, this is a good solution at this particular time, modify or defer your plans until you are ready. Because you really do want to be ready. This is not these things can, if it doesn't work, like I say, it can be really down. It can be a big downer, and you can lose money. So if you're not ready, modify it and do it till you can. So that's our workshop for this evening. Appreciate you stopping in. Let me get here's one of the things we were talking about. Business entity comparison table. This will come in this PowerPoint, so you'll get a copy of this. What a sole proprietor is, what the formations are, general partnerships, limited liability, limited liability partnerships, C Corp, S Corp, all this. It goes through their existence, requirements, management, more a business entity considerations. There's your downloadable thing. Download and start writing in that stuff. Start filling this stuff out. Get an idea of what it is that you're looking at. It really helps clarify your objectives, your entrepreneur characteristic scale. This gets into a little more, expands on the vision statement, the mission statements, the strategies, tactical plans, and feedback loops. Principles of business creation. 4 operating principles is people, finding the right people to do the job committed to your values, mission, and goals. Your process, the process is how you actually operate this thing. How do you form, create, obtain, deliver, and service a product to a client? And have that, something I would say is making every contact with a potential customer, anything you can do to make it experiential. Really separating yourself from other people. I did this one in 1999, my first website, Therapy Zone. We were selling physical therapy products, and we partnered with physical therapists around the country. Because if you had a shoulder problem and you need a range of motion pulling and a hot pack and a sling, well, that kind of stuff you can't buy it at drugstores, and you can't buy it at can't buy it. So the therapist had to give it to you, and therapists are traditionally horrible retailers. So I started Therapy Zone, cost $600,000. That's what websites cost in 1999. Built out a website, filled it full of products, partnered with over 2,000 physical therapists, and each one was sending me an order a week. We were doing really well. And then we did, every order went out with a signed card at that time. First thing, everybody came in, had about 18 employees. They'd come in and, Stan in shipping, thank you for the business. Personal signatures on a little card, thanking people. It's amazing how many people at that time got their orders and called back and said, hey, thank you. The range of motion pulleys were fine, but that little note, knowing that I was going through pain, little note, get well fast, that meant all the world to me. That little thing that we put in there separated us from everybody else. What can you do when delivering your product or service to a customer to make it an experience? And if you can do that, that's what people remember. They remember working, then that's when you get loyalty. That's when people start talking about you. They tell their friends about you because you went over and above. You gave them something unexpected. You did something that was, had value to them, but you didn't do it. You under promise and overperform. It means so much today in today's world. So anyhow, there's our presentation for the evening. Anybody got any questions? Just unmute and ask away. And if we don't have any, we could call it an evening. I know there was I didn't look at all the chat things. So anyhow, if there are no questions, you will receive a review sheet if you would be so kind as to fill it out and send it back. It goes back to our national offices, and it kind of I think our chapter in the Southeastern Division has been the leading chapter in stuff we've done for the past couple of years, and it all comes from these kind of replays, reviews. What'd you think of the workshop? Okay, folks. Well, I don't see anything. No hands are being raised, so we'll sign off. Cal, thanks again. Always appreciate it. It's good to see you. Until next time, you all take care.